Welcome to the Stargate Finance Community Call, where we discuss proposals and ideas that will help shape and govern the Stargate protocol. Okay, a few things to go through here today and this week. Thanks everybody for coming in. Okay, one of the first things is, it should be, it's going to be going live here in the next couple of days, is the transfer of native gas, or when you transfer to like airdrop native gas to the destination chain. We do have, for anybody that is in Discord at the moment, or if you want to check on it later, I've got a small screenshot here to share with kind of like what that's going to look like and how that's going to work. But this should be live in the next couple of days, where you'll be able to, as you transfer across. Right now, like we do, I think there's some dust that gets sent over. But for now, or in the future, there's going to be the ability to have kind of three options when you're, well, four, I guess. But either you can choose to have no gas get airdropped onto the other side. So this is taking some of your source gas and dropping it as native gas on the destination chain. So you'll be able to choose a default amount, which is designed to be like enough for an approval and a swap, so that you could get more native gas if you wanted to, or be able to like get a different asset. There's a maximum amount, so we've kind of got like an upper threshold of just like what's kind of a safe amount to be, sending across with all this. And then there's the custom amount. So then you can choose like anywhere in between, 0 and the maximum amount. So I don't know, to me, this is like a really cool thing, because it's always been like a bit of a struggle to go somewhere else to like find the right native gas. I know there's some other places that are offering it with it and kind of combining it, but here it's like you're taking your own and using your own. It all gets linked in and connected into your own transaction. And so all that shows up from your, shows up like in your transaction. So all that is going to be included in your in your in your wallet in the transaction. All of that gets lumped together. So I don't know. I'm pretty stoked about that. It'll be able to you'll be able to have like just native ETH on Mainnet and be able to like go everywhere right from Stargate. So I don't know if anybody's got questions or comments on that, but I'm pretty stoked personally. And again, we do have the text questions from in Discord, on YouTube, and Twitch. So feel free to pop in there to bring in questions that way too. So you take a look into the native gas there. Like I said, I dropped that into the text questions. Any feedback, feel free to reach out. The next thing is the LZ scan. So we'll be able to, creating like a scan that's able to like look at all of the transactions. Because right now you have to kind of jump between I guess Etherscan and like Snowtrace, or FTM scan or Polyscan. This way here, like each one of these explorers, instead of having to jump between, we'll have like LayerZero's kind of scan that's able to like monitor or be able to like follow all of your transactions. And I think that's going to be really beneficial for a lot of people that are wondering like where, how their transactions are doing, where they're going, and just like a lot more clarity around that. So that should be ready as far as is next week. Is that kind of where we're at with it?
I think basically it had always been by the end of this month. I think broadly it's super helpful for individuals. Obviously, like right now there is just none of this connects it. It's just a random hash on kind of source chain, a random hash on destination. So you have to do a lot of guesswork to figure it out. So now chaining them together will be super, super helpful. But I think it's most helpful for all the applications we're integrating. Like they want to be able to show this to their user. Like here's where it is right now. It's either pending on source, confirmed on source, like in flight, or pending on destination, confirmed on destination. I think like having those statuses will make the entire process of integrating much, much, much easier. Maybe it's next week. It's basically, by the end of the month for sure.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, cool. So that's going to be a big thing for integrations. Absolutely. They'll be able to show users where things are at. Cool. All right. I don't know if anybody's got anything on that. Anything else? Yeah, and anybody that has questions or comments, feel free to come on up anytime and raise your hand. We'll get you up on stage, or bring them in through the text questions. Okay, next up is just an update on the ETH asset integrations, or is the base asset for integration. Yeah, I think that's coming along, and yeah, where are we at with that? That's we're looking to get onto testnet soon with that.
Sorry, Tangle. Say that one more time.
Just for the ETH, the base pair, or like for the.
Oh yeah, the ETH pairs are coming up. We basically have to fix the front end. The front end was set in such a way that adding more and more assets is going to kind of change the way the front end interacts. It'll look more like kind of like the DEXs do over time, especially if we ever expose to long tail of assets. But for now, basically, we need to get ETH added in the pools, and we need to get the front end updated. My guess is hopefully the dev, kind of the main dev for this has COVID right now, and I haven't heard from him for 36 hours, so hopefully he's alive. That's my co-founder Caleb. I'm sure he's alive. Yeah, so my guess is like Monday-ish or something. Like basically, need to get the pools, need to set up the incentives. I think the announcement will go out, and then yeah, and then basically the front end will be live. So hopefully by then.
All right, cool. Yeah, and hopefully, yeah, get better, get well soon, Caleb. Damn, that sucks. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Speaking of, yeah, kind of some other things too here. Just yeah, pre-crime, and I know that's like a thing everybody's been waiting for, and of course, yeah, having like dev resources right now. That's.
I believe the shackles are coming off today. So basically, I know this has been discussed before, but pre-crime broadly means a bunch of hacks have happened because you have some messages going chain A to chain B, and the hacker did something tricky. This could be the Axe and Ronin hack. This can be the Poly Network hack, etc. But the hacker basically tricked the contract into releasing money that it shouldn't have, or tricked the source into kind of sending a message that it shouldn't have. So pre-crime allows the application to set an invariant, which basically is something that needs to be true for the message to go through. So for Stargate, the very simple invariant is like solvency, right? So if you're giving $10 million on the destination chain, you want the system to still maintain solvency. So what pre-crime does is when it hits the relayer, before the message gets forwarded, the relayer forks all local chains, does the state transition, and confirms that it's still solvent. So if you're giving 10 million there, did I actually get 10 million on the source? And if you didn't, if any of those invariants are broken, then you know it's a fraudulent message. And so before basically Stargate went live with composability, where everybody is able to wrap it. So these are all the applications we're integrating. Pre-crime was going to be live, I believe. Well, pre-crime is live on Mainnet now. It's been running in the background. I think everybody has signed off that they are happy with the security state of things, and it's good to go, which means hopefully today that will come off, which will mean everybody will be able to compose Stargate fully on Mainnet. So that has not been happening yet, and that will be a big change once it does.
Amazing. All right, yeah, let's everybody stay tuned for that. And it's great to hear that, like, security being top priority here. Yeah, and want to make sure that there's been so many hacks and exploits that every extra bit of security we can have is going to be very, very helpful. So cool. And I know a lot of people have been excited about that. Ray J, yes, hopefully you're stoked about this. I think you might be sick as well right now. So shout out to Ray J. Hopefully you get better too. All right. Very cool. Very cool. One other thing here, as far as integrations go, we do have the widget for dropping into, the widget for, I'm just pasting this into the AMA text, voice text channel. So here's like the integration. So places will be able to integrate, integrate omnichain transfer like in any app right now. So here is the this widget, and this is going live right away, I think, or is almost live. So yeah, this code will be, this is just like the simple way to for this to happen. So lots going on our end. Primo, I don't know if you can speak to this a little bit more.
Yeah, the widget is live. Widget is basically okay. So there's a couple ways you can integrate. SushiSwap integration is something that's more like, hey, in the Sushi UI, we want to do this whole swap. So the user has asset A on Ethereum and they want to go to like asset B on Polygon. That's fine. Do in the Sushi UI, click send or click transfer, and like the whole swap is done. And so Stargate is done in the backend. So you like swap on chain A, bridge over Stargate, and then swap on chain B, and that whole flow gets executed right in. That's great. Native integration like that is amazing, or like composed integration. But then there are other apps who basically say, hey, that sounds great, but that's going to take us much longer. What we actually want kind of right away is just the ability to bring assets into the ecosystem. So this is an easy way to have a widget where you just can have it directly on your site with like basically 3 lines of code. Just copy and paste this thing and boom, it's there. And that's where anybody can bridge Stargate in. So imagine you're like a big DEX on another chain or a big whatever on another chain, and you just want to make it easy for people to bridge from other chains to you. Now you can do it. You have the widget directly on your site. Super easy to have bridging. Nobody ever leaves your UI, etc. So that is what the widget is for. And you can see it. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to expose this link, but I'll say it anyways for people on the call because it looks pretty awesome. But it's just stargate.finance/widget. And you can see kind of exactly what that looks like. And yeah, again, super, super easy to use, super easy to integrate. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, awesome. This is again just how like easy this is. I mean, I'm not a programmer, not a coder, but when I look at like the amount of lines of code, it looks like you're like kind of running a couple of, packages, like a npm thing and a yarn thing, and then like the few lines of code. This thing looks pretty straightforward and easy to put in. So yeah, that looks pretty sick. Okay. Yeah. Next up here, I guess as we're talking about widgets and integration here, Sushi integration, I think they are getting closer and closer. We did some user testing with them the other day, and this looks really, really great. They're chugging right along, and it's like the UI experience is pretty great.
Link the screenshot. Let's link the screenshot.
I was told not to. I was told not to because it's they're going to be updating some more stuff to make it even better. So out of respect for them, I won't do that. But yeah, it looks sweet. It's going to be they're working on it diligently. So yeah, but I don't know, Mackie, maybe you could say just like I don't know any kind of feedback you have from what you saw with the user testing around it.
Just like the what's it called? The UX is pretty easygoing, and basically like you don't have to think about like I would say like the switching chains or everything. It's just all integrated in one, so it's very easy. Whenever you switch network on the other end, refresh kind of the how's it called? The token list, so you can just pick like whatever token is native to, let's say, Optimism and so on. So super good. I think they did a great job, and they really kind of hold your hand afterwards, like during like the bridging process. They show you all the steps. They did a wonderful job, honestly. Like I didn't expect it to be so polished straight out of the gate.
Yeah, it was impressive to see like how much it where they were at with it, and how polished is a really good word with it. So yeah, with a little more time, with the last little bits that they're going to integrate, very excited to see how that's all going to play out. But should be cool. Should be cool. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Well, if anybody's got questions on that, feel free to reach out, or if you've got, if you want anything, just let us know. And yeah, next up is we'll talk about the proposals. So one that we have live on Snapshot right now, of course, is the OP airdrop token distribution. So that one is live right now. And where are we at? So I think it's going to be on till Friday. Just loading up here right now, but. Yes, we had current results. Snapshot's taking a minute to load here today. But yeah, basically, just how this is all what this is gonna look like here with the airdrop that was given to Stargate with the 1 million OP tokens, and I think the main thing to point out here with this this airdrop is that like it needs to be things that are going to help like keep the Optimism ecosystem alive rather than just like free handouts to people. So I think that was like the biggest thing here with like VE holders. I know that was that was some comments on that, but like I don't know that was like the best way for Optimism to look at that, seeing like, is this the best use of the OP tokens, whereas like locking it into into like TVL on Optimism, that's, I think, was going to be a lot more of a a better use from their perspective. But yeah, currently this vote is at 1.1 million of 7.4 of quorum. But I don't know if anybody's got questions or comments on that or anything else with this. But the Optimism's closing their governance on the 24th, I believe. So once this, hopefully this passes on Snapshot, and if so, then we'll put this up to governance vote on Optimism ASAP, so that we do get those tokens allocated for Stargate. I don't know if anybody's got questions, comments, concerns on that. Yeah, and feel free to bring this in from the text questions area too. But yeah, anyways, that'll be looking forward to that. And yeah, again, any questions, feel free to reach out on that. But if you've got your VESTG, go and vote. Okay. Next up, we've got, I guess with the VESTG fees and just kind of coming up, or I guess like the fee structure in general here. I do see Isabel in the audience. Would you like to come on up here? Give you an invite. If you want to chat about that a little bit. I know you'd put up a proposal, and yeah, love to hear from you a bit on
Sure. Yeah, I think actually since I put up a proposal, a little bit of the opinion has changed. It's obviously more important for the protocol long term, initially to gather as much protocol on liquidity as possible. So after speaking with Max and a few others, I think it's where are the numbers at now? Something to the extent of 1 basis point, I believe. Oh, geez, sorry, I wasn't prepped for this. Apologies. In essence, the vast majority is going to pull to protocol and liquidity, with somewhat of some of the proposal as it stands right now is for some of it anywhere from 1 to 1.5 bips to go to VESTG holders. I do think that's important. Obviously, it gets the narrative away from, frankly, it's a useless governance token that you hear all the time in social media. So whatever the number is, we need to have a certain number on it. Obviously, we need to pay the integrations as well, but the vast majority needs to go to poll. So yeah, that's my kind of standing on it at this point.
Yeah, cool. I know that that's obviously going to help with the long-term sustainability of the protocol. But yeah, you've really touched on the two key points there. So yeah, that's great to see that there's been a lot of discussion around this, and I know there's even been some other channels with people discussing this too. Not only with like fees, but other things. But yeah, I don't know if anybody else has got wants to weigh on this. Max and Primo, I know you guys have got. I know Max has been working a lot around fees and all this sort of stuff too. But would love to hear from you too.
Yeah, I think Isabel kind of touched on it. I think at this point in the stage of the protocol's life, like maximizing protocol and liquidity should be one of, if not the highest priorities. Right? Making sure the protocol long term can grow to a place where it's self-sustainable. It doesn't have to rely on incentivizing liquidity through emissions to sustain transaction volume growth. So I think like allocating most of the fee to protocol and liquidity, to me, sets the protocol up for success long term.
Yeah, and you've got
Perspective is it's basically like convex and curve wars, right? Except rather than buying the thing to bribe, you're like buying the thing so that you don't have to bribe anymore. So like protocol and liquidity obviously makes it where like the more you own, the less you need to bribe broadly. The last numbers I saw, I don't remember what the current numbers are, but the last numbers I saw, were something like 1 bips for VE Stargate, 0.3 bips for the partner program, which is going to go live. We're going to have a ton of partners, kind of all in every ecosystem, which is great. Huge lever to get people to integrate early, and we have like some amazing people integrating. And then the rest is basically protocol and liquidity, or in the case that there are no emissions. So say there's a new chain where that chain wants to like put up LP. Then those LP should be earning some fee. So it's something like 1.5% to the LPs if there are no emissions, and 0% for the LPs if there are emissions on the chain, because emissions obviously like dwarf LP fees at this point. But overall, I think something like this structure is like it accomplishes what everybody wants, and I think again, the long term is like, once the protocol captures as much protocol and liquidity as it wants, or as it can do to like kind of own this huge segment of the market without needing to bribe relentlessly, then you get into this really interesting situation where like all of that can flow out.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for that extra color on that. And then, I don't know if we've got we get like more concise numbers on all of this. And I know like Max has been tying in here with the liquidity management breakdown and everything. So some of this is all going to kind of tie together. But if we've got like a more of a solid kind of like structure or proposal around like what we want to see out of fee structure and everything, we can get that up sooner than later here onto Commonwealth. And like I know the community is wants to push forward on this, so let's kind of get that into a formalized maybe formalized proposal with those exact parameters laid out, and having with poll and everything. And let's see where that can go. But I don't know, does that sound good with you guys, Isabel? You're able to maybe repost another one?
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
Beautiful. Okay. And maybe as we've just been chatting about a bunch of this stuff, Max, let's, if you want to just like kind of go through this proposal here on, it was posted in general discussion. And I'm sure we could move this over to into a proposal here right away, just to kind of get a little more.
I think.
But yeah, go ahead.
Yep. Yeah. So we, working in this small working group with a few people within the community, team posted that analysis on kind of like where TVL needs to be given transaction volumes, and then like what is the type of model that we can use going forward so that the protocol is incenting enough liquidity for using the historical data, and then also looking at transaction volume growth, so that while also minimizing the amount of emissions. Right, I think we've seen over the first 2 months or so, emissions started really high, liquidity was very high, and that was, I think that was it was good to at least have enough liquidity in the system to generate enough transaction volume data to see where the demand was occurring. But now that we have over 2 months of data on transfers and deposits and withdrawals, like we can be much smarter about this in terms of how much liquidity we need to incentivize, while also setting up the protocol for long-term success. So with that, I think there should be a proposal going up soon on Snapshot that just kind of like details this monthly emissions update process in terms of how the protocol is updating emissions for each pool based on historical transaction volume demand. Yeah, I'm really excited to see us move in this step, right? Like, I think obviously, like, long term protocol and liquidity, having enough liquidity that the protocol owns to support transaction volume is key. But within this first, 1 year to 2 years, like, the protocol needs to incentivize liquidity for growth. So we just need to be smart about how we manage that going forward. And I think a data-driven approach to that will get us there.
Yeah, and thank you so much for breaking all that down. Like, it looks like there's been a lot of number crunching, and that's yeah, there's like a lot of analytics behind this. So yeah, really appreciate the putting that all out there. Yeah, so if people don't mind, head over into Commonwealth there, and under general discussion, there's the liquidity incentivization program and other related proposal updates. Yeah, and maybe we'll come up with some other put up another proposal here that's a little more maybe digestible, just with like clear just kind of clear objectives or outlines so that people can digest this a little easier too. But there's like a ton of info in here. So, if anybody hasn't had a chance to look at that, just run through it. Max has been analyzing all this stuff heavily. So, it's great to see like where this can go, and like actually being the most effective and efficient. All right. Yeah. Anything further on that, Max? Or if anybody else has comments or questions?
No, nothing further. I mean, it's hard to talk about like a data science model on a Discord call, but if you guys have any questions on like, the data that goes into the model, or some of the logic behind it, feel free to DM me. Always happy to chat on this stuff.
Perfect. Cool. And again, one of the last things here to talk about is staking our LP on Curve. Maki, can you kind of speak to that a little bit more?
Yep. So we're gonna very soon enough, we're gonna see kind of the rewards emitting to our CRV in the form of CRV CVX to like the Curve pool based on the bribe that we sent. We sent around 300 plus USD worth of STG plus Redacted voted with 250,000 USD. We also have like a few other folks that voted, but with V Curve. They are not private per se, but that is pretty good. So I think to maximize kind of, I guess like protocol earnings and making sure the DAO is kind of getting the best bang for their buck. Exceptionally, I think we should be like doing like this proposal as soon as possible to basically like earn CVX CRV. Both of these rewards are going to be handled differently. So for CVX, in the proposal that I posted, we're going to be locking it into Convex to basically like vote additional rewards to our own pool afterwards, and recoup some of the bribes that we're going to give away ourselves. On the Curve side, I think either using like a liquid locker or looking at with VCRV yourself is going to be the avenue to again like get some more votes and basically like make sure that our pool is self-sustainable, earning kind of Curve rewards vitam aeternam and helping us kind of have additional revenue there. With the V Curve, what is interesting is we're going to be receiving more Curve, and we're also going to be receiving 3 CRV, which is basically stable coins. I think all the stable coins are going to be basically reused to buy even more CRV, and ultimately at some point we can even discuss like how to leverage them for maybe whether this is redistributing to VS Stargate holder or some other avenues. But for the moment, I think making sure that we are in a place where things are I guess less reliant on bribes is the best. So that's kind of what is going to be happening. If there's any question, feel free to comment here. Any reward accrued by the convex, the CVX stake are going to be most likely restake into like the current strategy that we have. So we're earning CVX CRV. These are going to be staked again, and so on.
Okay. There was one comment in Commonwealth here. It was just talking about like the 3 CRV should be withdrawn and added to protocol owned liquidity. So like the DAI converted to either USDC or USDT to maximize protocol owned liquidity and reduce the need for mercenary capital rather than repurchasing CRV at this point. Yeah, you kind of alluded to using it to buy more CRV and revoting. I don't know. Would you be able to kind of like discuss which like the
So I
yeah.
think it's gonna be very minimal in the very beginning. It's gonna be super minimal. USD or like a 3 CRV that we're gonna be receiving. I think optimizing to have as much as possible until we have maybe, I don't know, like say 10,000 3 CRV in rewards per week or so makes way more sense than try to add 100 USD here and there in the beginning. I think optimizing to reach to an inflection point where this makes more sense and is like more cost effective than bribing or like incentivizing rewards and so on. I think we have like Max can probably confirm like we have at least a few months of more kind of emissions.
So the initial missions program runs through June like 17th, I think. But just doing some further analysis on this, I actually think like by June. So there's also so this initial emissions program also has scheduled reduces, and looking at the numbers yesterday, it looks like once we hit around June 1st, we'll actually start to dip below the amount of TVL that we would ideally want. So I think this speaks back to getting this snapshot proposal up with the model for an updated emissions process, because I think, that's not too long away. It's about a few weeks. So if we were to get the snapshot model up and then have the emissions program updated on an ongoing basis, I think we should be fine. But
Okay.
we'd love to do that sooner rather than later.
So in theory, if we can like rely a little bit more on emission for a few months, we're going to be able to accumulate more and CRV like rewards and so on, and then have more 3 CRV to extract from quote unquote like these trading fees and so on to put into Stargate. So yeah, that's kind of how we would go about like the whole kind of staking the Curve LP tokens. I think it's a no-brainer and everyone is very warm, I think, to the idea.
Okay. Yeah, and so hopefully that answers that kind of comment on there and why it would be more beneficial to be to use the 3 CRV for more CRV. So yeah. Okay. I don't know, anything further here that we want to touch on or discuss? Kind of dropped a few things here today. In excitement here over the next little bit, and yeah. I don't know if there's anybody else that's got questions, comments. Just kind of run through the questions here quickly, but let's see. Just a little more social media engagement. We can work on that and try and garnish more attention here. Pinodio. Hello, have you got something for us? Pinodio, you're on mute right now. Oh, lost him. Okay, well, if he's reconnects, maybe we can get him back up here. I think there's somebody else here. B Wolf. You got something as well? B Wolf. You got something for us? We can kind of hear you. Yeah, you're a little faint, but maybe just try a different mic or a different way of input here. Can't seem to hear you right now.
Okay, can you hear me a bit better now?
There we go. Gotcha.
Cool. Well, first off, I'd like to say thank you guys for creating such a great project. This is really amazing work. Obviously, you guys are making extreme. You guys are doing God's work, in my opinion. So this is great. Really, just a quick question. Just wanting to know a little bit more about proposals on fracs, and if there's any kind of, and I don't know if you guys mentioned this at all, or I know you guys we're discussing some other start incorporating, including ETH, but kind of wanted to know if there's any kind of thought process on fracs, and also if there's any kind of lead indicator with basically the APY for staking, if that's going to if we're going to see a little bit more of a cut with that aspect as well. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely, and thanks so much for the comments. Yeah, I mean, I think broadly, again, the goal of Stargate, so just thinking from the lens of the protocol, is clearly to have like as many assets as possible, because assets in chains mean volume, right? And volume mean fees. Like Stargate wants to monopolize fees. It wants to be the liquidity transfer layer of everything, of all of DeFi. And so I think the question it becomes kind of like at what cost, right? So right now, it's getting to a point where it's paying out emissions. Great, and emissions are getting less, which is also very good, and the fees are pretty reasonable, right? Like, a billion, almost $1.5 billion sort of in volume done on the protocol. Fantastic. So in the current stables, which are definitely like the most volume that's being driven at the moment, we're getting to a point where at some point we could say, hey, but with protocol and liquidity and this, like maybe we'll hit parity soon. Maybe we'll hit the point where like we don't need to subsidize things, or we're profitable kind of with fees against against the outflow of emissions. That's a world you can see. You add an ETH, and ETH also has like a lot of volume. So great. As you start to get to the long tail assets, it becomes like, okay, well, how much needs to be put up? And basically, what are we paying? Like, does the volume justify it? So I think there's a couple of ways you can do this when you're doing like actual long tail. Like imagine we just wanted to open it up to everything. So this would be like a DEX model, right? A Uniswap, a SushiSwap. We say anybody can add pools on Stargate. Stargate can now be the bridge for everybody. Any long tail asset can add, but you need to basically incentivize your own, just like you need to incentivize your own kind of DEX pairs, or put up the coin yourself as the team there, so people have inventory to bridge around, or incentivize other people to put it up. So that's a model you could take. So when we're adding, when we're looking at other things, whether it's Frax and Fey and other stables, or whether it's something completely not stable at all, just something who wants to have a reliable bridge that isn't reliant on anybody else and has like this consistent structure, it just comes down to like, what is the cost that Stargate is willing to pay to get this asset here? Or is the team is the team and community of that project willing to like put up some inventory, put up some incentivization, et cetera, and the way it works with DEXs? And so I think we're still trying to figure out like what that model looks like broadly. I think right now it's been kind of like a case-by-case basis. I know chains have said, hey, we want Stargate and we're willing to put up, X million dollars in stables. So there's liquidity coming in and out. They're not paying anything, right? They're just LPing. So it doesn't really cost them anything, and they get fees. It just costs them some basically, opportunity cost if they were going to be farming or doing something else with their treasury. And the same, like if Frax said, hey, we will put up, all of the Frax in all pools, and so Stargate doesn't need to give emissions, and now our users have this bridge that goes everywhere, I think we would, probably add it ASAP. I think it just comes down to like what does that look like, and I think Stargate, us as a sort of governance system, needs to decide like what do we want, how much do we want to give for new assets, do we want to vote on it? You can make this VE structure where you're like kind of voting on which assets get added, so then it's like a bribe system where people will either bribe VE holders, or they will basically accumulate VE to be able to vote for themselves. There's a bunch of different ways that you could model this. But yeah, I think, those are like, I can tell you those are the factors that the protocol should be thinking about as it goes about making these decisions. But at the end of the day, it should want to add everything, because more assets is just more volume, and like we want the most volume possible. It just comes down to the cost, and so that's how I frame it myself internally. I think as a protocol, we need to decide like, hey, what do we want this to look like? So if you have any kind of ideas around that, or anybody else, it's a topic I definitely want to dive into more, but I don't think I have a perfect solution for right now.
Yeah, and any of that stuff too. Like, feel free to always start conversations over in Commonwealth, and yeah, to get like more more light on it, and just to be able to like see where this can go. So even if it is like, it doesn't always have to be a full-fledged proposal. It can just be in general discussion and start chatting with it there, or however. But yeah, if you've got ideas around it, yeah, feel free, please. We wanna hear from everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you bet. I see Max and Pinodio are back up. Max, I don't know, did you have something to add to that last bit? All good. Pinodio, have you got something?
Howdy. Sorry about the microphone. My browser had it blocked.
All good.
Just a quick question. Yeah, I guess adding more and more assets makes sense. I would just be a little careful of reputational risk. Like, I question a bit FTX's decision to support UST, because I just think it was pure dodgy. Anyway, that's a short comment. A broader question I have is, where do you see the positioning of Stargate with respect to omni-chain aggregators? So as there are more aggregators that are being used that will kind of aggregate between Stargate and alternatives, how do you kind of see the strategic positioning and advantage of Stargate? Is it about being the best of those omni-chains?
Yeah, so I mean, I think broadly, one thing I've always thought was suspect about these omni-chain aggregation in general is like, I don't know that the best idea for any protocol or anybody is like, let's take on, the security properties of everybody, right? Adopting like 10 different security properties is normally not the way you want to approach security. Because it's just like more attack vectors. You're like the probability that one of those 10 or two of those 10 go up drastically. And so like, I think in most cases, it's sort of like not what you want to do on like the long tail of things. But I think from what everybody tells me, I mean, if you look at our volume, if you look at everything, even on just the limited asset pairs we have now, I think we have one of the highest TVLs now. I think maybe the second highest TVL, like Wormhole is now below us as well. So I think like we're pretty well situated. We're extremely competitive on fees. You get the actual native asset. So compared to all the wrapped asset bridges, you're saving yourself like 30 bips on the destination chain from needing to swap out. Yeah, I mean, I think all things considered, we have a bunch of people in kind of the Stargate group are really big power users. And I think when it comes to using bridges within DeFi for all the things that sort of drive the most volume, Stargate remains like very compellingly competitive. Yeah, and I would say that, that plus then the application side, like, the application wants this consistent experience. This is when you have Sushi, when you have the others, I think we can provide something there that nobody else can provide at the moment.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Pinodio.
Yep. Anytime.
Okay. I don't know if anybody else has last comments, questions, concerns on this. Is probably a great place to wrap up here. I think we've covered a lot of stuff today. If not, yeah, we can wrap it up here. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming out this week. And yeah, we'll have this up on YouTube. It's live streaming now, so it should be there and available. And yeah, anybody that did stick around or that's been here that wants to stick around for a POAP, you'll be able to claim that afterwards. I think that should be running and good to go. So you'll be able to claim that afterwards. But yeah, thanks everybody. We will see you all next week and we can reconvene then. But yeah, please keep coming. Any comments coming in, obviously through Discord, and yeah, don't don't hesitate to get into Commonwealth and put some stuff up there too. That's where the governance discussions are happening, and that's where we can shape and build the protocol from there. So, thanks everybody. We will see you all soon. Bye bye.